Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Union Smack podcast right here on the Hibiki TMD channel. This time, no retro, no special states of the Union. We're doing what we do best, what we started doing 2 years ago. Back to basics, the UK Omnibus rolls on. My man, my co-host is here. Maniac Matt Tenney, you've been holding this down for the past 4 months. I'm so fucking finally happy to be here and doing one with you. We're going to knock out 4 episodes in one, but before we do that, how you been? Where can everyone catch you? What you do?
Been a pig of a week, Travis, but it's finally fucking good to have you back. We've missed you, and I've missed you. I'm not going to go hoarse today because I don't have to do all the talking.
Yes.
That's a plus for me. You can find me, as usual, on Twitter at the Perfect Tenant. You can buy our official merchandise, the official Hibiki TMD shirt, the official Union Smack shirt, the official Reset Button shirt, and more to come, I am thinking, over the summer at our online shop, unionsmack.bigcartel.com.
Coming soon, you can get your own Logan Myers thong. No, I'm just kidding. Get over there and check us out, buy Matt's book. And as always, on Twitter, at the Hibiki TMD, hit that little red button right down below for all the best in retro gaming and pro wrestling goodness. Man, another reason I'm so happy to be doing this again between our last episode, our Bash at the Beach Retro, and Hibiki High Spots, which just went up today with special guest Off to the K. Check it out, cheap plug. I'm so burnt out on talking about the horrible doldrums of 95 WCW. I'm so glad to be back doing this. With the tradition, it continues here on the show. What's going on in the news, Matt?
Well, first up, and we'll try and keep this short as always because we know how long these omnibuses can be. NXT UK this week announced 2 new sets of tapings. The first one will be on October the 4th and October the 5th in Brentwood, Essex, which is, as Triple H took great pride in telling us in the announcement, Travis, it's like the home to all the really, really shit Z-list, reality stars in the UK. Home to the Only Way is Essex reality program, which should be axed, banned, bombed, whatever you prefer. And the second is on November the 15th and 16th in Hull. So, I wanted to mention this because the October one, they led everyone to believe would just be the first NXT UK house shows, but it has since been confirmed will be a TV taping. So if you've got tickets to that thinking you're just going to see a regular house show, then Sim's been upgraded.
Lucky you. Let's just call a spade. I'll come at you direct with the question. Do you think these things are going to be a success?
I'd like to think so. Right now, ticket sales are very, very poor. I think it was Glasgow. They had to give like 200 tickets away. I know Plymouth wasn't a sellout. Tickets had to be given away there as well. Download Festival did do well. I know that's sold out, but it's a completely different audience, obviously.
Right.
Like the Rock.
They totally piggybacked off something bigger to get those fans. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It was smart. It worked, but that's what they did.
It did. And I did look, Travis, this morning, actually, at the Cardiff tickets for the TV tapings the night after Takeover, and they're still not selling well. It's like for a good amount of money, you can get like almost front row seats. So yeah, TV tapings not selling so well. Pay-per-views sell out in minutes. So make of that what you will.
Another thing Cardiff, and I feel like the first Blackpool takeover have going against it, and I don't know why they do this, it's promoted totally the opposite of what an American NXT takeover is. You actually see ads for it when it's coming up soon on like in between a Raw or something. You never see anything for NXT UK takeovers unless you're watching NXT UK and there's a commercial break. Then you see something for it. Nobody knows about it. The casual fan has no fucking clue. They think Cardiff is some brand of handkerchief or scarf or something probably. They don't know.
Yeah, and you know, I watched NXT, regular NXT, this week because obviously Pete Dunne was on it, and I saw an advert for it on regular NXT, but I think that's the first advert I've seen for Takeover Cardiff on regular NXT.
But my point is though, Matt, you're not gonna sell shit out. You're not gonna have them hanging from the rafters when you advertise a niche product in between a niche product.
No, you're not. And when they came to Blackpool, announced the first NXT UK takeover, I remember listening to another podcaster, American, who didn't really know anything about NXT UK. He knew Pete Dunne, and he knew he was United Kingdom champion, etc. And he was saying, it's like, why have we not had Pete Dunne on Raw and SmackDown just promoting this thing?
Yeah, exactly. The Street Profits are on Raw for some goddamn reason right now, but we couldn't get Pete Dunne in there for when Blackpool was coming up months ago.
Yeah. It seems the Street Profits are everywhere. They were in Plymouth last week for the NXT UK tapings. And yes, they did perform on both nights.
At least that's a tag team who apparently, according to last Monday's Raw, they stick to their Mary Jane and they don't go out and get DUIs for the goddamn fourth time. Let's talk about this for 2 seconds, Matt. Jimmy Uso, again, his third DUI since he's been there. Jesus Christ, man. When is enough enough? This is just as ridiculous also because Vincent Mann, the XFL's launching in a little bit later this year. He made a comment saying, we will not take players that have any criminal background, period, flat out. That was a direct quote. And now, what is this? It's Jesus Christ. It's not like it's a top guy also, by the way. I mean, could it be? Maybe, Matt. Just maybe he's related to Dwayne. Is that why? Who knows? But enough is enough, in my opinion. It's not cool to have one drink over the limit and get behind the wheel, in my opinion, at all. No excuse for it, especially 3 times. And that's 3 times he's been caught. That doesn't even count how many times he probably does this every night. Let's be honest. And that's scary.
Agreed. And, he should at least be sent to rehab at WWE's expense. If he refuses, then I know the Usos are a big part of the tag team division, but at the same time, still a PG product, and just sending the wrong message to your audience by just turning the blind eye.
Oh, and your employees too. More importantly, that's the worst message people to send a message to. Your employees are, God.
And we can't forget, it's like this comes 2 weeks after Jeff Hardy was caught for the same again.
Jeff Hardy was passed out in a stairwell after drinking all night. And 2 weeks after that, and 4 days after John Cena cut a shoot promo about their mugshots on Raw Reunion. God, the irony in this is just so much. Unbelievable. But I hope he gets the help. I don't want to say that he's a piece of shit who should have walked up forever. Nothing. I hope he turns it around because he seems like a decent guy for the most part. Just makes really, really, really bad choices. So I think it's time to get to it. We have so much on our plate. I think that's the news, Matt.
That is the news. That's we'll keep it short. I mean, we could go over much more. Pete Dunne take over Toronto, and Storm versus Viper in ICW, grizzled young veterans winning the Progress tag titles, etc. But it's just been a long night, Travis. So
we've already packed a lunch. We don't want to pack a dinner, also. Yeah. When we come back, again, I'm excited to finally be back doing the omnibus route with the bus driver himself, Matt. It's going to be us knocking out episodes 50 through 53 right here. But until then, don't you meet your bitter end. Stick around. Here's the Bruiserweight himself, Pete Dunne.
I'm the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and you're listening to the Union Smack Podcast.
We are back. It is finally time here on Union Smack to dive back in. The omnibus rolls on. Matt, we are back at the Download Festival. One thing I want to say that I haven't been able to say on any show is how well Aiden English has impressed me as a color guy. I'm enjoying it. At first, he sounded a little bit like Kermit the Frog, but I got over that fast, man. He's feeling. It was a perfect guy to put in there for McGinnis, who's just the ultimate color guy they have right now. What do you think of Aiden English?
I was a bit hostile towards him at first, obviously, because Nigel McGuinness is the best commentator they have, in my opinion. I know everyone's going to say Mauro Ranallo, but I think the work Nigel McGuinness does is underrated. But I've grown towards Aiden English now. Like, his voice at the Download Festival, which was already a different setting and gave the program a different feel, is just added to that uniqueness, I think. So, very good job. And I don't want him to come back because, obviously, Nigel's the man. But, yeah, doesn't Aiden English do 205 Live or something like that?
Yeah, he does.
Well, I might tune him. He might convince me to tune in one day, but it's doubtful. Are you ready for episode 50?
I am. Who would think? 50 episodes later, and finally I'm glad that I'm back to review it with you. 2 years later doing the show, we have reached it. Our ultimate goal was to finally have a UK show to be reviewing when we first started. We do now, and we're 50 episodes in. Who would have thought? What did this milestone episode kick off with, Matt?
Well, this milestone episode, first of all, kicked off with a quick recap of the end of episode 49. No, it didn't. I'm looking at the wrong note. Give me 2 seconds, Trevor, sorry. This... Fucking hell. It's a good start, isn't it?
It's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of ironic, too, because that's kind of how this show's been for 50 episodes. 1 week, it's really kind of damn good, and the next week, it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. Right. This actually started off with a recap of the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Mustache Mountain takeover battle. The recap went through the veterans' reign. Mustache Mountain wanting a rematch. I'm going to ignore the Radzi segment in the recap because he's just still terrible. 50 episodes later and he's not got any better. And then we kick off with Rhea Ripley interrupting Aiden English and Vic Joseph. She basically says she wants Piper Niven right now. Out comes Piper Niven, and we've got the match, Travis, that I feel like we've waited 5 years for. This started in February this year in Coventry, and they're only getting into the first match now in July.
I enjoyed.
Does it not feel like
it? Yeah, it's felt like 2 years. Thankfully, this wasn't a bad match at all.
I mean,
it wasn't amazing and memorable, but it suffices for something decent.
It suffices for what I'm assuming will be the first match, because obviously without spoiling anything for you, there is some interaction as we move into Plymouth. Rhea Ripley looked good, the dominant bully of the match. I just don't. I didn't get the feeling from this that this was the big spectacle we've waited for. So I think that you kept us waiting so long for it. Obviously, because Rhea Ripley had the injured ankle and she couldn't compete for what seemed like forever. But for the time we waited for it, it was good. It just fell below what I thought it would be.
I think that's intentional, though, too. I think knowing that they're going to keep working this program for a little while till Rhea leaves, I was like, don't give them everything yet. We could still see them booked on Cardiff in like a street fight. That would be amazing, I feel like.
Yes, yeah.
Just let these two go out there, gloves fucking off on a proper stage to showcase what got them signed in the first place, and I feel like you would have a borderline classic match at TakeOver Cardiff.
Yep. I mean, they have to go to Cardiff. It's like, this has been going on so long now that it deserves a big blow-off match in Cardiff, and obviously this is going to be Rhea Ripley's last feud going into her final days in NXT UK. So I think for the work she's put into the brand as well, she deserves a send-off on pay-per-view. We said earlier about Tony Storm being one of like the founding fathers, if you like. I think you have to put Rhea Ripley in there as well.
Oh yeah, that's your Rock and Austin of this women's division right there. Those two.
Yeah.
What the only thing I'm a little baffled on is, okay, I made the argument, if they're going to have a program together after this, then don't give them everything in the match. Then if you're going to do that, why did the babyface win so clean and so decisively in this?
Yeah, agreed. I've got this gripe as well later on with the Kenny Williams Noam Dar thing.
Yeah.
Because that's going to carry on as well. But I would have preferred to see Rhea Ripley win here by dubious means, and then Piper Niven get her, get a retribution in Cardiff with a clean win. But, I mean, they do it as they do it. Triple H wasn't there for these tapings. He didn't, book all of this. So,
yeah.
I think what we're looking at is progress booking, because obviously, the team behind Progress are the team behind NXT UK for the most part.
No way. Could have fooled me.
Yeah, never fucking guessed that one.
No.
I think the win does Piper Niven good, obviously, but I mean, what can you do with it?
I just it kind of sucks too, watching every Rhea match now, or whatever angle she's in, knowing that she's on her way out. It's kind of meaningless. I have that in the back of my head when I'm like, what's the point? And that's not a good thing to have when watching wrestling.
No, it's not. I mean, and it was somewhat predictable as well. It was like, Piper Niven's not going to lose just yet. Not this early into her NXT UK career, so...
I think we see her in the title program with Kaylee Ray down the road by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. She's definitely going to be the first challenger to Kaylee Ray. You can get 6 months out of that if you book it right.
Who the fuck else you got right now, really? Speaking of unmemorable and just kind of meaningless, I'm not feeling the Kenny Williams and Noam Dar stuff at all. I love the match that we're going to talk about later. It was a tremendous match. These are just, to me... And something you want to do with any babyface, I feel like, in any promotion, is make them every man's kind of, everybody likes them, every demographic. When I look at these two, for me, I see the biggest fucking douchebags in the world just bickering like schoolgirls. That's what I see. You might feel different, but that's why it takes a lot for me to give a damn about this.
Well, you know what? First thing we're going to disagree on. I've liked, for the first time, I've liked something Kenny Williams has done in NXT UK. Like, I was starting, only just Travis, but I was starting to warm to him and Amir Jordan as a tag team when they pulled them apart. I do believe Amir Jordan does have a legitimate injury, which is why they had to change things in Glasgow last minute. I don't know what it is, I can't find anything on it. But obviously that's the reason for Kenny Williams' singles run, and I like that they've taken something that wasn't, originally planned and just made something like this out of it, because it gives Noam Dar something to do. It gives Kenny Williams his first real big singles, feud/push in NXT UK. And I like the way they've also sort of played off their history together. They were tag team partners in ICW in 2015, and you can see how much research I've done for the upcoming, can't you?
And I want to reiterate, before we get blasted in the comments from people like our friend JD or anyone on Twitter, it's not the matches, it's not the guys. They're both extremely talented. For me, this is just a straight up character thing. There's nothing relatable for me with either one of these guys. One guy is just the biggest Euro trash in the world to me, and the other guy looks like one of the bad guys from Back to the Future, one of Biff's friends. That's all I see when I see Kenny Williams.
I can see where you're coming from, but I like the way Noam Dar has portrayed himself in this. So you always thought Noam Dar was a prick.
Yes, thank God he's a heel again. That is a good step in the right direction, because he was the most insufferable babyface for me every time.
I mean, let's be honest. He could be babyface again next month. They'll just switch him without warning if this ends prematurely. But I like the way he's used the prickiness about him. It's like you look at him and go, yeah, definitely a cunt. And he's used that to his full advantage. And I think Kenny Williams hasn't portrayed his character in the greatest light. I think he's been a tiny bit of a pushover. I would have preferred it if you remember the match between Noam Dar and Ligero, where Kenny Williams came out and just sat, in the chair.
Yeah. If he would have just eventually just turned then, and I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, I would have liked him to have just hit Noam Dar with the chair and go, do you know what? Fuck it. I think that would have popped the crowd much better, and it would have, kick-started this a lot more. But I like where it's gone. I like that they're finally doing something with Kenny Williams, because the talent's there. I just hope this isn't the, Download wasn't the culmination of the storyline, because from what I've read, it actually might be.
I will say, I hope Kenny Williams brought some baby wipes and stuff on this day, because all this little segment was Kenny Williams was outside interviewed, and the gimmick of the mud for Download Festival, outside in the mud, then attacked by Noam Dar, blindsided, who rubs his face in the mud, a la Ric Flair rubbing Ricky Morton's face in the concrete, breaking his nose. Only this was mud. That's all this was. I didn't hate this, though. This was intense, to the point, short, exactly what it needed to be, to make Noam Dar a more vile, cheap chicken shit heel. This was fine. No problem with it for me.
Agreed. And that moved us on to Alexander Wolf versus Jack Starr's jobber. Jack Starr's, I think they should start renaming him, because he's got no feud. He's the next Tucker, I believe. It's like, just, you need someone to do the job, out goes Jack Starr's.
Well, since we're renaming guys real quick, Matt, maybe we should change Alexander Wolf's new gimmick to Orange Alexander Wolf. How could you not tell me about this before I watched it? I thought this would be the one thing that you would have been like, oh my God, I can't wait till you see this. It's time, WWE. If this wasn't evident enough, stop making these guys cover themselves in spray tan or bronzer or whatever the hell this is. Because yes, this was a solid little squash match, but I was too distracted by the brown orange goop covering Alexander Wolf by the end of this, to the point where his hair was drenched like he took a shower in it. I'm sorry, I know we're going to review the match, but that's all I could focus on in this. It was awful. Awful. And it had to be a rib.
Yeah. You think?
Had to be. Come on. That was so much spray tan. Jesus, did you use the whole can? And he's not, I mean, he's pale, but God, your leader's Walter. Does it really matter if he got a tan?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you also agree with me on, hopefully, is that Wolf looked much more fearsome than Walter on his entrance. It's like more evil.
Oh, yeah.
More intent. It's like if you'd have pointed him out to me, if I'd never watched this program before, and somebody had pointed him out to me and said, he's not actually the leader, he's just one of the henchmen, I'd have said, no way.
I would have been like, oh, no shit. Because he comes out there like a straight-up serial killer. You can tell that he had been sitting under the learning tree with Eric Young for the past couple of years, too.
Yeah, he's learned a lot. The way he carries himself, the stairs. Like, he came out and he looked like he was spoiling for a fight. Instead of, you see some of these come out and they're just like, you know, going to do a job, da da da. But Alexander Wolf came out and like looked at Jack Starrs and say, I am going to kill you. It's nothing personal.
I'll be honest, I actually gave down here on my notes this match 2 stars. It was a solid little, squash match, basically. It showcased, I think psychology-wise, Alexander Wolf killed it in this, that methodical, kind of what Orton used to be, that slow Viper type thing, but on kind of a better level, better executed here with Wolf. And his sit-down powerbomb is the finish. I guess, if that's what you're going with, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I hadn't seen that much of Alexander Wolf in singles, because obviously, I'd stopped watching Raw and SmackDown ages ago, so I'm not sure whether he had much of a singles presence on SmackDown. I know he didn't have much of one on regular NXT. He was always with either Killian Dane or Eric Young in a tag team. So he surprised me with like how technically good he actually is on his own, Alexander Wolf. Because there were some things here that looked very, very good. And I think it's like, if Walter ever does decide to move on to somewhere else, then Alexander Wolf could take over Imperium. Like, I'd have no problem with that.
You know, one thing that I haven't talked about either is this, and yes, it's a Ring Conf ripoff, totally, straight up, that's exactly what it is. But I like the Titantron, I like the entrance, I like how they stand there. I'm digging it. I'm totally fine with Imperium right now.
Yeah, me too.
Jack Starrs, by the way, also one of the most underrated workers I feel like in Europe right now too. He's a good worker, man, when he's properly showcased.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, he's not being showcased in NXT right now, but then, you know, he knows his job. He knows why he's there, to put the bigger men and the bigger stars over. And, you know what, he's collecting better money now than he probably has ever earned in his career so far, so...
And all he's got to do now is go out there and be NXT UK's Crash Holly. That's all he's got to do.
Maybe one day.
Up next, we get a Gallus backstage vignette, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, in one of the shittiest little
Man.
trailer cabin things you've ever seen in your life.
All right, I got it. The Gallus experiment, for me, it's been sitting stagnant for too long. It's up there with the Zach Gibson promo now. Any vignette with Gallus, I am just immediately on autopilot, and I pray to the whatever above that it's going to be over as soon as possible. It's just not getting it for me. Maybe it's me. You could feel totally different. What did you think of this?
No, I'm done with Gallus. I think they peaked in Blackpool. Joe Coffey is still a star, in my opinion. Like, if him as a single star, like a serious one, not just a mid-carder, he can still make it. I'm not feeling the Mark Coffey Wolfgang tag team. I think that's got no charisma or life to it at all. And I think Gallus as a whole now just exists to give two men a spotlight that they wouldn't have if they were on their own. I
know he's good, and he's actually a great talent, but he's not on the level of his brother. Mark Coffey, for me, would be the obsolete guy right now. Wolfgang works, but just not as a heel at all. He's too... And by the way, I figured out who he looks like. You remember the movie Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox?
Yes.
Do you remember his fat best friend? That's Wolfgang. How could you not like the fat best friend in Teen Wolf? He's got all of his little ow and his W he holds up. That's all tailor-made for a babyface. And when you take that away, you just got the guy from Teen Wolf as a biker. Doing nothing. Just being a yes man.
I mean, to counter that, I will say that Wolfgang as a babyface had grown stale as well. And NXT UK hadn't been on the air for, 4 weeks?
Right.
So I think they're in a bit of a predicament as to what to do with him. It's like if you kept him babyface, I think he'd have grown even more stale because he'd have had absolutely nothing to do. But also as a heel, it's like he peaked with Gallus's popularity back in January. Like when Walter came in, Gallus just dropped straight down the pecking order.
Yeah, they totally got the Sting treatment when Hogan came in. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Also, I feel like Wolfgang, I'm aware of his heel stuff in ICW. I just haven't seen a lot of it, but it's got to be better than this.
Oh, it's much better than this. It's much more intense, and I mean, he's the man in ICW.
Yeah.
I believe he is or was the ICW World Heavyweight Champion as of this weekend. He went into Shug's Who's Party defending it. So, he gets the star treatment in ICW.
Wasn't he also their Cruiserweight Champion at one point? Or something? How crazy is that? What is your weight system over there? How does that work?
Even by our weight system, like, none of them three will be considered cruiserweights.
My goodness.
It's like, all three would probably be considered a beast over here, if I'm being completely honest. But this promo was basically Gallus talking up, that they want the Hunt, they want to destroy the Hunt, etc., etc. You don't really need to know the backstory to this if you haven't already seen it. You get it all from this promo. I still think Joe Coffey's a good promo. I just think the storylines they're giving him at the minute and the things they're giving him to talk about are just like snooze fest.
Joe Coffey, definitely, like you said, he's got it, that X factor. He jumps off the screen. I could see him as an Intercontinental Champion, for Christ's sakes. But that's the problem. There is no real backstory to this. All this has been is just 3 guys yelling and 3 guys complaining. That's all these vignettes have been. 3 guys yelling for no reason, like the Bushwhackers of the Nasties, by the way.
Yeah, that's all they've been. They've got nothing to do. I know where Joe Coffey's going as we approach August the 31st. I won't spoil that for you. He will almost definitely be on the takeover card. But apart from that, it's just like, I don't want to see Gallus as NXT UK Tag Team Champions.
No.
But I feel that's where they're going to go to make them more relevant.
Oh, do you think they turn him babyface or tweener to feud with Imperium?
Do you know what? I don't think they're going to work as a babyface. Even if they turn the babyface, because they're Scottish, and the majority of NXT UK takes place in England and not Scotland.
You've also said it a lot.
I don't think it works.
You've also said a lot in the past 4 months on the omnibuses, and I think we've said it on shows before that. I feel like to get Gallus to catch people's attention, turn heads real quick, just throw Kaylee Ray in there and have her be the shit kicker, kind of like Nikki Cross was in Sanity. That's what got people to turn heads with Sanity.
Yeah.
Do it. Why not?
Yeah. I would like to see that. Give her the women's title, push her into Gallus, and have her as, I don't want to say have them as her bitches, but at the same time, it's like she could be the leader of that group and probably make it a lot more relevant than it is now. Like that, who I'm thinking of? Shaniqua with the Basham brothers.
Oh, you want Kaylee Ray in some bondage attire and some S&M stuff, huh?
Yeah.
God, the writers in 04 were so fucking weird.
Still gets to me, but
Yeah, I mean they are kind of caking her face in makeup. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about with Kaylee Ray. We'll get to Gallus later. Let's move it along. There was a little Tony Storm vignette here that meant nothing. It was just an excuse to, get the commentators to just gush and all that stuff. That's all this was. Up next, though, something we've never seen on NXT UK that I can remember, or any show in a while, is a handicap match. The newly acquired Jazzy Gabbert, the Diesel of NXT UK, to, Jenny Shawn Michaels, versus Danny Luna and Mercedes Blaze, two women. I have no idea who they are. You might know their backstory more. What did you think? Was this a good way to showcase Jazzy? And how do you think it's going to go for Jazzy?
Honestly, looking at the title picture and where it's going and, where it could have gone, with her by Ginny's side, I don't think it's going to go all that well for her, if I'm honest. The gimmick with her and Ginny has a shelf life, so I think the sooner the title gets onto Ginny, so they can then turn Jazzy on her, the better. Apart from that, it's going to grow old fast if this is still a thing in a year's time. Yeah.
Yep. Just like every single time they do a bodyguard angle, not named Shawn and Diesel, that's what happens because they don't know how to book that anymore. Because let's be honest, how many ways can you book that? How many times can you think outside of the box on a bodyguard gimmick?
Yeah.
The only
it's going to go one way. She's going to turn on Ginny at some point, and if it's not for the title, I'm not interested in it. Sorry.
Exactly. The only thing that stood out to me in this, there was a cool spot where I think it was Daniel Luna went for a cross body and she just bounced off of Jazzy Gabbert like she was made of flubber or rubber or something. She just looked like a stone wall. That was great. It was a great way to showcase her. I don't know if the Dominator, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of people use that move. Maybe something a little more, I don't know. They could tweak that, but for now, I guess it's okay. And clean fashion, obviously, I hope she wouldn't lose this match. Jazzy Gabbert gets the win. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on the outlook of Jazzy Gabbert in NXT UK. I'm that there's no title, then I got no time for it. Don't care.
Yeah, and you know what? She's not going to work as a babyface either, I don't think. It's like she's built the looks and everything to be a heel. So, I don't know. Maybe she'd fit better in Imperium because of the German connection.
Yeah.
But I think if Jazzy Gabbert's not the monster heel of the division, then she's got nothing.
Up next, we might be a little more divisive on this. I have not been feeling the Cassius Ohno stuff in NXT UK. It's just, I get it. He's a good talent, and these are good vignettes, and they're well done, and he's coming off as that, I'm real British wrestling when he's, the irony. I get it. It's just not the right guy for me, and that's a personal thing. Even back when he was in Ring of Honor, IWA, I was never the biggest Chris Hero fan, so this is more of a bias thing. And from what you've told me in spoilers coming up, my God, why would you do that? You guys will know soon enough. We won't say it here, but Cassius Ohno, you've been feeling it. This was the focus more on the founding fathers of NXT UK, and specifically Mark Andrews building up a little match they're going to have or program coming up in a little bit. What did you think of this and how it's just been handled?
I don't mind Cassius Ohno being put in this role simply because, simply because I think he's the right guy in the ring, to get the mid-carders over and push them up a level. I think he's stagnated a bit. It's I don't think they know what they're doing with him. If I'm being totally honest, it's 1 week he's beating Kenny Williams, the next week he's losing to Mark Andrews, then he's doing what he did in Plymouth, which we'll we won't spoil for anyone who hasn't read the spoilers. You know, it's just like, if you're gonna do it, just have him win to a certain point. You know, do a Ligera with him, and then have a Mark Andrews who needs to push going into Cardiff, beat him, and then that resets Cassius Ohno again. It's like, yeah, all right, I lost. He got the better of me for 3 seconds, but do you know what? I'm still the man, and I'm still going to teach all this UK talent that, you know, the way to wrestle British style. I think Cassius Ohno as a talent is very good. I think he's been solid in NXT UK. There's been a few instances where, you know, his matches have just been blah, but on the whole, I'm glad to have him here. And of course, he's got the gig in the UK Performance Centre as well the week before a taping. So,
and that's what I'm getting at too. I feel like he's just biding his time till he's a full-time trainer and agent backstage, and it's just like you kind of touched on. It does kind of feel pointless. That's why for me.
Yep. Yeah, and you know what? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, because I sort of stopped watching NXT at the beginning of the year a little bit because I just couldn't take any more wrestling, you know, writing books and etc. But I think he's getting worse physically.
Yeah.
Like he looks like shit. Like he looks like the definition of a bag of shit.
Yeah, I mean, age doesn't do everyone wonders. Not everyone ages like a Randy Orton or a Triple H.
Yeah, but then Randy Orton and Triple H don't look like they get out of the ring and go to, you know, Dunkin' Donuts for their breakfast, lunch, and tea.
And how crazy is it that his fiance or wife, whatever she is now, is like a bodybuilder or weightlifter type?
I know. Would you not have thought she just said to him, "Look, darling, just take a look in the mirror, like compare us. Maybe you should start lifting some weights and eating salad."
Yeah.
You know, just an idea.
And I know people are going to give me shit for this, but hey, this was originally Slam Pigs, right? I could just see him with Piper Niven way more than a Rachel Ellerly. I'm just saying. Come at me, people.
Just sitting at McDonald's, just stuffing their faces. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Jesus.
A sexy woman for a big girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yes. I'm not saying that, guys. I'm sure if, you know, for females that are into, you know, bigger dudes, Cassius Ohno is a good-looking guy, even though he kind of looks like Mick Foley lately. Our main event for the big 5-0 milestone episode, NXT Tag Team Championships, Mustache Mountain going against GYV. I got to tell you, man, one of my favorite matches of all time so far in NXT UK has been the tag match from Blackpool with these two teams, the British Bulldog attire and all. Yeah. This was good, but it was totally, it didn't have what the atmosphere Blackpool had for me. That's what didn't make it as memorable as special. This match, though, definitely, would you say it was a must-see or just damn good?
I think if you saw the first match and you liked the firch match, you know, the sequel was a must-see. If you're just coming into it, then it's probably not. It was a damn good tag team match. Had some excellent stuff in it, like the Burning Hammer onto Gibson, onto Drake. That was amazing.
Performed by, that was Seven's Burning Hammer, right? His signature.
It was, yeah.
God, I love that move when he nails it.
And you know, looking at this match and looking like forward to what they did, you know, the next 3 episodes with, you know, him standing up for British Strong Style, etc. I now feel like they try to exhibit Trent Seven a tiny bit more.
Pete Dunne didn't do either one of them any favors. Let's be honest. Having him in your stable kind of just gives everyone the Sting 95 treatment unintentionally.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Pete Dunne eclipsed everyone.
Pete and people think we exaggerate and blah blah blah. I didn't get into it with someone on Twitter, but I kind of elaborated more. Well, we're not just fucking marks for Pete Dunne. There's a reason why he stands out. He uses a style nobody really uses. It's that Back to the Future mentality. I had 2 Back to the Future references in one show. Matt, he's so proud. It's just, Pete Dunne. You know, he has fucking everything, guys. He really does. He checks it across the board. And I know we're like little schoolgirls when we talk about Pete, but man, just. And a sea of guys in undies doing flips, he just stands out like no other. One of the very few guys in pro wrestling in the entire world right now that jump off of the screen like that is Pete Dunne. And that's why I think he appeals to us so much.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you said. We've been watching this for the best part of our lives. And I think in the last 20 years, he's the only one that's really made me love wrestling. Sorry, Travis, my voice is going. the only one that's really made me like believe in wrestling again. It's like after the lull of like the mid 2000s going into 2010, and then all the guff of 2011 to 2015. It was just I was very quickly losing interest in professional wrestling. But then somebody like Pete Dunne came along, and it was just like wrestling's alive again, and that's why I love him so much. I would argue with anyone for however long they wanted that Pete Dunne is the best wrestler in the world today. Keep your Ospreys, your Omegas, even your Styles is. For me, it's Pete Dunne, and argue with me if you like, but I'm not gonna back down.
Because I'm with you. I can tell you in the last 20 years, 3 guys to me who have just been those guys. And man, this is why I love wrestling: Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, and Pete Dunne. And I'm talking Bryan Danielson versus Takeshi Morishima. Bryan Danielson, by the way, guys. Even though I was all about the Yes Move and all that stuff, I'm talking old school Bryan Danielson. Back when we were getting Heidenreich and Snitsky on TV every week, Samoa Joe and DB and all these guys were just having fucking Broadways in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. And you know what? That title reign has meant more to me than any title reign since Bret Hart's first... No, not Bret Hart's first. Bret Hart's 94 WWF Championship reign.
That's kind of where I'm at with that ROH, that amazing ROH title reign with Samoa Joe back in the early 2000s, that dominant run. That's kind of where I'm at with that. That at a time where we just got horse shit on TV because the Attitude Era, everyone was so burnt out on it. They had no clue what the book anymore. So we got Katie Vick and shit like that. It was just wrestling. It was just simple, a monster heel flattening people with wrestling.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, we have so much to go. We always do this. This match.
we trail off.
You're already losing your voice, you just said. We have 3 more episodes to go.
I am. Cracking.
I think what made this less memorable than the amazing match they had to take over was just the finish. And the finish was fine. It's progressing everything. But that's flat out for me, I think, why I didn't have it. There wasn't a clean, decisive,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I see, though, why they did the ending. It was a necessity for everything. Like,
yes.
Out of this ending came the next 3 weeks worth of television for Walter, Imperium, and Trent Seven. And if people who haven't seen it, it was a very, very good beatdown. Dramas. Oh, yeah. They handcuffed Trent Seven to the ropes. Walter just beat on Tyler Bate. I think there was 2 apron power bombs and then a power bomb into the ring post. And I love that haunting image of them just standing on the apron doing their pose, and all you can hear is Trent Seven screaming Tyler Bates' name. It's like that is how to do powerful drama, folks.
This is the most aggressive we've seen a heel stable attack people since the initial time the Nexus debuted and just choked out Justin Roberts. This has felt so edgy, like the NWO would handcuff people and make people watch beatdowns. Until that, we've just, even Undisputed Era, it's just kind of been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this had that. This was fucking awesome. I loved this. I'm totally digging everything they're finishing off these shows with Imperium with, especially the Powerbomb Marathon we'll get to later. Holy goddamn. This was great. It progressed everything like you said. It made sense. Everybody played their role perfectly in this.
They did. And I must say, people won't hear me say this often, but I was wrong about Walter. I'm still not completely sold on the title reign, only probably because he beat Pete Dunne for it, and I totally believe Pete Dunne should have at least had 2 years for what he did for the title and the brand. But Walter has turned into a very good talent. He's gone from putting on squash matches, which meant nothing and showed nothing, to putting on fucking great, exhibitions which get you invested. So on that front, I was wrong about Walter. I will reserve judgment on the title reign until it's over, and then I can look back on it and say, yeah, it was okay, or they probably should have done a bit more with it.
And I think it's safe to say some guys, no matter how talented, no matter how imposing they look as heels, just benefit better from having a group of guys around them. That's just how it is with some guys. And this is a case of that. And I agree. I've come around so much on Walter. We're getting We're getting layers. Imagine that.
We're getting storytelling. Imagine that. In WWE in 2019.
With that, I feel like episode 53 should have been episode 50, but this is what we got for the milestone episode 50. Obviously, the main event delivered. This was just not what I would expect an episode 50 to be for the most part, but as a grade, I'm going to give this just a flat out B, and I think the only reason it doesn't get a B- or C+ is because the main event for me. That's my take on it.
I would give it a B-. Though the main event was good, I feel like everything else on the card was just pretty much below par. You know, one match doesn't make one match doesn't make an episode, and I think because Ripley and Niven held back, it wasn't as good as it should have been. If this had been bookended by two, thrillers, then fair enough. But I think everything before the main event was missable.
And I saw a lot of reviews when this came out that week that a lot of people, man, this was a top-notch episode, way to go. I was like, what are you guys watching? Because I haven't seen that kind of love for this week's episode yet, and I'm kind of astounded by that. This one's totally gone under the radar, and I'm about to start giving people shit on social media for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love NXT UK. I hold, as I said, I think it was in the last Omnibus, I hold this brand to a higher level than they've been performing at. But no, it wasn't a great episode by any means. Main event, I'd have given, a solid B+.
Dare I say, I would have given the whole 45-minute episode to the main event. Have it be a Broadway, and that's my episode 50.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. But now that, can we just say, it's like, I've been saying this to myself for 4 months now. Now we've finally got you back. It's like, is it just me, Travis, or is the verbiage in these episodes just getting way too much?
It is. And if anything that's looking on the up and up, the last two I've watched, we've seen a little less. And I feel like the times we've seen it, the excessive, we needed it, like the Trent Seven promo we'll get to later.
Yeah.
I feel like they're learning a little bit. Hopefully.
I mean, they're learning, but then they just go back to...
Yeah. They're learning, then all of a sudden you'll see fucking Radzi and Nina Samuels for no goddamn reason, acting like a goddamn mark. When she should be one of the faces of the women division. But we'll get there when we come back. We got a lot of show, guys, like we said. Let's go to another break. Let's get you a drink, Matt.
Yes, please.
When we come back, episode 50 run right here, Union Smack Podcast. Hope you packed a lunch, dinner, and a dessert this week, guys. Stick around. It is with tremendous honor that we here from Union Smack induct our picks as the greatest legends in the history of British and European wrestling, right here on the Union Smack Hall of Fame, put together by my co-host, the Maniac, Matt Tennant. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for the first batch of inductees right here on the Union Smack Podcast. We're back! NXT UK episode 51 right here on the Union Smack Podcast. Let's jump right in and try to streamline this as much as possible as the omnibus continues. Matt, what did this episode kick off with?
We kicked off with a very short recap of last week's main event, the beatdown by Imperium of Tyler Bate. And I will give this episode one piece of credit, Travis, because as we get into it, there won't be a lot of good to speak about. This didn't open with any opening titles or anything. It just cut straight in as if someone had died. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. Definitely.
It was like the atmosphere was solemn and the commentators were talking about, how injured Tyler Bate is. And it was just as if they were going to give a 10-bell salute or something. And the graphic of Trent Seven carrying Tyler Bate out after the cameras stopped rolling, it was just very eerie and spooky.
And you're a big Batman fan too. It reminded me of that comic cover where he's holding Robin.
Yes. He's just carrying him away. It was very, very well done. And I wish more episodes of NXT UK were like this, because after something big in the main event, you just usually get, lively titles. This is our first match, but no, this was almost a continuation of episode 50. So, yeah. Props for that. But the opening here was Ilya Dragunov versus Ashton Smith, and I don't have that much to say about this, Travis, because I was quite disgusted at the amount of offense they allowed Ashton Smith to get in.
Well, I mean, when's the last time we've even seen Ashton Smith?
I would say, do you know what? I was going to say Glasgow, but actually I think it's Coventry.
Yeah.
So we're talking, what, February was the last time he actually competed, so March would have been the airing of it. So we haven't seen him for months and months. So why give him so much offense against a man that, you're trying to build and one would hope, trying to, push him into the main event.
As hard as Ashton Smith tried on his entrance, he kind of got the people to do that dumb arm raise thing. I mean, they're about half with it.
I mean, I think you'll recall me before Christmas, like praising Ashton Smith a lot and saying he's got a lot of potential, etc. That's all gone now. It's like he's just this jobber who they use occasionally. And I think if we're gonna have like a round of talent culls, I think Ashton Smith's name would probably be at the top with Joseph Connors.
Oh yeah, for sure. This was just biding time until the real star of the show came out, Ilya Dragunov. I will say this, you've already covered it. I love all the build-up vignettes they've been giving him. I love the graphic with the eye and all that stuff. It's Ilya Dragunov, as advertised, everything about him. I'm pretty sure it's the same theme music he used in WXW2, right?
I think so. I just love it. It's just like a really nice Russian upbeat march, and then he comes out with the red eyes and he looks like he can kill you. I just wish, Travis, they'd have shown a bit more of that here. It's like, don't just have him squash Ashton Smith in 30 seconds. This is one instance I wouldn't have minded, like, just a nothing match.
It's the total right guy to do that with, in both guys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Dragunov even beat Joseph Connors in less time than it took him to beat Ashton Smith.
Yeah.
And they've built Joseph Connors up enough, without any meaning behind it. So
I don't know. Maybe they want to give Ricochet's big brother a little boost and a push. Who knows?
He does look like him, doesn't he?
I know a lot of the obvious choice for Walter eventually feud with is Ilya Dragunov. I don't know, man. I had this feeling in the back of my head. Something's not something. I feel I hate to say this, and it's crazy to even think this with Ilya Dragunov, but I feel like there's other talented guys they're going to focus on around him for a while first.
Yeah, honestly, like based off how he's come in, and I think I said this on the last Omnibus. It's like the difference between how they've brought him in and brought Walter in is night and day. It's like Walter was straight into the main event, straight there for the title. And yet Ilya Dragunov has just trod water against meaningless jobbers. And it's not like they were much different, like in stature on the indies. It's like everyone knew Ilya Dragunov, everyone knew Walter. It was like they were sort of on the same level in Progress and WXW, etc. But the difference between them here is just night and day.
Yeah, it's kind of like in '98 in WWF when they had Severn and Shamrock at first. And Shamrock was just booked on another level than Severn. It's not that bad yet. It's not red flag with Dragunov yet, but they got to... And the spoilers you told me, again, we're not going to tell, but man, totally Dan Severn in him right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that screwed him royally. So they bent him over and... Yeah.
After this, we get a little recap of the Zybrook side.
After this, we got...
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Just a recap.
Yeah, like you said, you cut out a bit then. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. We said it at the same time. I don't know. Now are we good now?
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
Here now.
Just to recap, Isaiah Brookside getting beat up by Jenny and Jazzy Gabbert over the past couple episodes. That's all this was. Then they're redoing Nina Samuel's show vignettes for some reason. At first, you get a good feeling, oh, they're going to do something with her again. And then you find out what they're doing with her, Matt.
Yeah. I liked the Nina Samuel stuff when she was sat in that director's chair in front of a mirror, because it felt a bit menacing, like she had some purpose, to her character. But then you soon realise that was just a ploy to build her up as a challenger to Toni Storm. And now we've got Nina Samuel's I don't know, what would you call her, the presenter, the reporter?
Slumming it.
Slumming it in Wellington boots in a field. And don't get me wrong, this amused me slightly. Like the parts of it when she was talking, but then they'd show completely different clips of her just being Hilary Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, is this mud? Not treading on this.
I mean, we got Bad News Brown. Now maybe we should just have Slumming It Samuels,
Slumming It Samuels. That should be her next gimmick, because this one's not going to work for her, sadly.
This was awful.
She's fell, hasn't she? It's like we haven't had a chance to talk about Nina Samuels for a while together, but from where they pushed her to Toni Storm's challenger to now, it's like she didn't even get an entrance in the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Like, they cut the advert before that. It's like she's fell so far in such a short amount of time. It's actually disgusting, because she had the potential, and then she pissed it all away in that match with Toni Storm, and it was like they looked at her and went, yeah, she's not ready yet.
The only word that sticks out to me talking about Nina Samuels, how she's being booked right now, is counterproductive. This is the opposite of what we've been seeing her be booked like. This makes no goddamn sense. Unless she really either slept with the wrong person or pissed somebody off big time backstage. I don't get it, especially seeing what she's been doing in Progress this year.
Yeah, agreed. I would, don't get me wrong, I'm of the opinion that Nina Samuels isn't ready to be, the top dog in the women's division, but it still doesn't explain or excuse, like, how she's fell so far.
And I'm sure someone out there is going to be like, oh, I like it. It gives her something to do. It differentiates her from the other one. By doing what? Looking like a homeless person that can't get into the supermarket? Why? Ugh.
Agreed.
Let's move.
Use a bet or don't use her at all.
Exactly. Give us a reason to give a shit. Let's move on to the next match, Matt. Candy Floss versus Toni Storm. Now, on paper, immediately you would think squash match, one and done. It wasn't a dominant performance by Candy Floss, but I feel like this match was used to make another star more than to showcase Toni Storm.
I mean, did you get that sense from it?
Just in the psychology, not the actual, not the move sets and all, just the way it was told.
I'll agree with that then. Like, for the way it was told, yes. I think Candy Floss is, what would you call it?
Poor man's Liv Morgan.
Apart from that, she's like a sleeper wrestler. It's like you don't know how good she is until she's given a chance. I think the first time I really sat up and took notice of Candy Floss was in that match she had with Xia Brookside in Blackpool before Rhea Ripley just beat them both up. It's like, in that match she was really good, and we haven't seen her much since then, but what we do see of Candy Floss is that there's a lot of potential there if they choose to give her the ring time and the exposure to take it a bit further. I will say, Travis, before we get onto the match, she looks a lot less trampy now, Candy Floss, than she did.
She looks a lot less anime convention cosplay.
Yeah, it's like when she first came in, she looked really like grungy and just like a little tramp. But now she's not that I'm trying to be horrible.
I know, it's just, I can't help it.
This is the way I come out with things. So, yeah. She looks less like a tramp now. So it's almost like they've got certain members of the women's division together. Ginny's another one. It's like we went over ages ago how trampy she looked. I believe I said something like council estate hooker, something like that.
I thought that was Isla Dawn who you say that about.
I think was Isla Dawn not.
Oh, wait, no, that was the camel toe attire with Isla Dawn. Yeah, it was the tramp thing with Jenny. You're right.
That was the one, yeah. I feel like they've got the women's locker room together and said, look, you need to smarten yourself up a bit, I think. You know?
Yeah.
And they all look presentable now, as where before it's like, a couple of them look like hookers. Let's be perfectly honest.
And ironically, the one that this is another reference to her, and this is not intentional. I'm not being a dick to her purposely. The one that wears the skimpiest attire now is Piper Niven. The most skin tight, revealing one. Whatever. To each their own. Candy Floss here. I say that it kind of made a new star because this totally came off like the Tony Storm's little buddy or mentor type thing. She there was a spot, and I bring up the Liv Morgan thing because Candy Floss literally did the same exact spot where Tony Storm does a drop down where Candy hits the ropes, comes over and does that little Harley Quinn, legs kicking in the air, laying on her stomach thing, exactly like Liv Morgan. But this time when Candy Floss did it, it kind of felt like it was underwater and in slow motion. When Liv Morgan does it, it feels full speed. It told the story by the end of it, with Kaylee Ray coming out and decking Candy Floss. And I think that's what put it over the top for me. That's why I didn't totally hate or shit on this. Like, the match could have been so much more if both women given time. We saw a clean win with the Storm Zero. This week, that's the Tiger Driver, by the way. That's Storm Zero, not another move. That was pretty much it for this. Just progressing the Kaylee Ray stuff.
I mean, if that was it, it was fine. But, I was more annoyed with this because I've written here, it's like, her last title defense, Toni Storm, was weeks ago. Weeks and weeks ago. She did, interesting little note, defend the title against Deonna Purrazzo in the dark match of last episode 50. So just a little note for people who don't know that there, but that obviously wasn't televised. So her last televised title defense was, weeks ago. I think was the last one against Nina Samuels? I believe
so. It was either her or Jenny. Might have been Jenny.
Nina Samuels came after Jenny. I think Jenny was Coventry. Nina Samuels was Glasgow, I believe.
But that shows how memorable the title run's been. Exactly what we're saying.
Exactly. We can't even fucking remember it. So, her last title defense was weeks ago. She's had nothing really in between, Nina Samuels and the onset of this Kaylee Ray feud. So is this really the best they've got for Toni Storm? I think it smacks of desperation when the best you've got is a basic jobber. You don't even put the title on the line. At least give Candy Floss a title shot, just so we can see the title defended. Because looking at this, and then looking at what's coming up in Plymouth, no spoilers, we're not going to see the title defended. Until Takeover, between Nina Samuels and Takeover. That's a fucking long time.
I know WWE in their fantasy little rule book have thrown out a couple things that you and I grew up on. Like, they've thrown out the automatic rematch thing for champions that lose their belt. I'm pretty sure they've thrown out the 30-day defense thing too.
They must have done, because it's going to be at least, let me see, maybe 90 days between Toni Storm defending the title on NXT UK television. She did defend it against Viper at ICW's Shug's House Party this weekend gone. She beat her there. Can you imagine trying to get her up for the Storm Zero? Dear God.
Another thing that hasn't done Storm's reign any favor, in my opinion, is they've also tried to copy and paste what Pete Dunne did. The whole Ric Flair going to the different territories with the belt thing. And it's just not on the same level at all. Because, for one, it's kind of been there and done that with Pete Dunne. Now it just feels like you're trying to copy that.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see him at Shug's house party, whatever that was, with Piper Niven. That was cool. It's cool to see it, but it just doesn't have that same oomph behind it when Pete did it.
No, it didn't. And I think it's also slightly hurt her reign when they cancelled a match against Bea Priestley. Because she couldn't take the title to, I think it was Stardom in Japan, and defend it against Bea Priestley because of the they didn't want her to lose against the AEW star with the title on her. So, I just think little things like that have just hampered her reign so much. It's just get it over with now.
So
if she doesn't lose.
No, continue.
If she doesn't lose the title in Cardiff, then I think the UK Women's Championship will be as meaningless as the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships.
To tie the bow on this Tony Storm thing for right now, before we move this episode along, I will say it speaks volumes, and I'm glad you brought Stardom up. When the most memorable thing, at least for me, no matter how talented Tony Storm is, that she's done all year, is dressing up like Minoru Suzuki. Sorry.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we haven't talked about that. Did she not look fantastic?
Oh, thighs for days, my friend. What? This isn't that kind of shit.
Be still my beating heart.
Yeah. Here's something I could live without ever seeing again also. Another Ligero vignette talking about how long he's been wrestling and blah, blah, blah. And one thing I didn't like, you said I haven't won in forever. Didn't he just beat Noam Dar a few episodes back?
Yeah, he did.
So
I hate inconsistencies like this. It's like just... They annoy me so much, I can't even begin to tell you. It's like... You've got this was obviously recorded before Download Festival. Like, before they made the trip.
right.
Because if you can't have recorded this afterwards knowing what you've booked on the show. And then some bright spark just thought, well, do you know what, we'll just throw it in. We've got nothing to fill 2 minutes. You know, we can't possibly take it out and show a network commercial. That would be too fucking difficult. So we'll just air it, despite the fact that he beat Noam Dar. And now nothing that he says in this promo makes sense.
Could have just shit-canned this little segment and given, like, Kaylee Ray another minute of beating down Candy Floss or something. Well, much would have preferred that. Let's move it along to, out of the 4 episodes we're going to talk about on this episode, Matt, possibly one of the best parts of any 4 of them. Trent Seven out next, cutting a promo on the vicious attack on Robin. Excuse me, Tyler Bate earlier. This was tremendous. This promo is exactly what Dusty Rhodes used to do. Ric Flair comes to mind. Those promos that start at a simmer and you let the noodles cook for a little bit. Then you bring them to a goddamn boil. Then you bring that boil down a little bit, stir it up, then it's time to eat, my friend, a 5-star meal. And a 5-star promo, this had every bit of inspiring football coach, we're going to start a revolution, everything about it. He cried in this promo. He snickered. He was intense. He delivered everything in this promo. And if anyone in the WWE says that Trent Seven isn't on the same level as a Samoa Joe or any of the all-time greats, you need to check it out. You're sorely mistaken. This was great. This was how you cut a promo.
Agreed. It was heroic. It was everything you want from, like, a baby face who's been stranded on his own. His friends have gone or been taken out, and he's just like, do you know what? I might get my ass kicked, but fuck it. You know, we built this ring. We built this company, and you're not going to take it from us.
We built this city. Sorry.
British strong style. That's our Christmas number 1, folks. It'll be available around December if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
So yeah, great promo, and I'm assuming somebody scripted this for him, or he had a hand in it himself, because it didn't sound like it was off the cuff. But you know what? If he sat and wrote it himself, then bravo. We need more promos like this in the business.
I think with a talent like Seven, I think they give him a bullet point sheet. Like, these are the points you need to get over. Go out there and cut me a promo. I think that's what they do for someone like him.
And you know what? That's what they should start doing. It's like, just cover these, say what you want, but obviously keep it broadcastable. Because this made you care about Mustache Mountain, it made you care about Trent Seven, and even though he had no real business in the title picture before, you know, this promo, it's like, I want to see him as a main event guy again. You know, I love Mustache Mountain, but after this, I want to see the Trent Seven from the 2017 tournament again.
Yeah. My only complaint about this, and it's such a little nuance, it really doesn't even matter, but I do want to say it. You just said it too about keeping it clean. I feel like, especially for a tape show, this could have used a shit drop. Like, say the word shit, and they bleep it out. Like, just to put it over the top of how intense and serious he was. This could have used that. But that's my only complaint, literally.
Yeah. Or it could have called him a bastard or something. It's like, that's surely broadcastable. Mm-hmm. They even have, like, stuff like that in the Avengers movies and the Marvel stuff, and that's for a family-orientated audience. So, you know, I think it's excusable now and again to get over the seriousness of, the talker.
Yep. And as much as I love a storytelling, Dusty Rhodes, Jake Roberts, long drawn-out promo, it's one of my favorite things. It's why I love wrestling. I'll tell you another thing that I hate is what took us up next, the selfie promo. A selfie promo on NXT UK, again, with one of the worst fucking promos in the company, Mr. Punk Pop himself, Mark Andrews. As soon as I see Andrews anymore, I don't care how good he is. I don't care how many goddamn flips he does. I don't care that he plays bass in a B-level punk rock band. I just zone out. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Come at me. And that's what I did here.
Yeah. Right, question for you. Do you think NXT are going to go with the cheap pop and give him and Webster the tag team titles because it's Cardiff?
Fucking Welsh. I'm just kidding.
In Welsh?
No, I said fucking Welsh. The Welsh and their...
Oh, fucking Welsh. Yeah, I agree. I can totally see them ending Grizzled Young Veterans reign just for a cheap pop in Cardiff.
Oh yeah, totally. I could see that.
And then having them drop it back to them like the next night
Yep.
at the TV.
In standard WWE fashion, and the more you keep talking about it, the more I think they're going to do it now. So
It's like they did actually come under a bit of fire for not giving Kenny Williams and Noam Dar the titles in Glasgow. So I'm just thinking it's like they're going to look back on that and go, well, we've put Andrews and Webster on this card because it's their hometown. We might as well just give them the titles and send everyone home with a happy little feeling.
well, the fans who watched the main event of 51 didn't go home with a happy little feeling, Matt. This under-delivered is an understatement. You would think this would at least be a little more hard-hitting. It was Dave Mastiff in the Hunt main event against Gallus. This fell on its ass. These guys had no chemistry together, to me. This was just bleh.
And you know what? The Hunt have fallen into the Mustache Mountain tag team logic. And as much as I love Mustache Mountain, like, they need to change it up a bit. As do the Hunt now. It's like Hitchman plays the fall guy, the punch bag for the hot tag to Primate, and then Primate gets in, and almost every match, it's like after Hitchman gets the hot tag, you've got maybe 2 minutes until the end of the match. It's like, it's so predictable now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so predictable that after that hot tag, the match has got, maybe a minute or 2 minutes left on it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what this was. Crowd sitting on their hands totally for this. Could give two shits for this match. And do you blame them?
No, I don't. I mean, there were parts of it I liked. I'm a big Mike Hitchman fan. I've sung his praises numerous times on the Union Smack podcast, but the Hunt can go places. They just won't be given the chance to. And this was completely existed to build up Dave Mastiff versus Joe Coffey, which I fully believe is going to be Coffey's match at TakeOver.
I co-sign that. Got to agree. Coming away, that was 51. I got to say, man, solid. See, all this episode came off to me was, hey, I'm still employed. This was the I'm still employed episode. We saw a ton of people we haven't seen forever. Just the only standout on this that kept this from being a fail was that Trent Seven promo, for being totally honest.
Yeah, Trent Seven promo, and I think the way they opened it, like something serious had happened. I liked that feeling, but then it just went downhill. The promo spiked it up a bit, but they couldn't keep it running into the main event, which I think up there with, I think it was Travis Banks versus Wolfgang, if you remember that. Yeah. I think it was like 8.5 minutes of nothing much. I think it's one of the worst NXT UK main events we've seen thus far. 51 episodes in.
Yep. Another case of a flat ending, man.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you're on the same page as for 51 with me.
I mean, I am. I'd give this. I know that the promo was good, but like I said, with 50, like one match or segment doesn't, make the episode. So despite the promo, I give this a C because it didn't really do anything other than, move on the Imperium British Strong Style storyline and lay the foundations for Mastiff versus Coffee.
Another episode where it's an awful thing to say, but you could have given a great match the whole episode and just throw in that little bit with Seven and Imperium. That would have been fine.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it? It's like when you've got an hour, and the best thing we can say about the hour is like it could have just been one whole match.
Yeah, totally. Do we just move it right along to episode 52 here, Matt?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we need a little boost, a little uplift. I'm just looking through my notes to see if we've got one for anyone.
I know this next match kicking off is I enjoyed it way more than I should have, but for other reasons. But for that, episode 52 kicked off with Matt. A little recap, and I'll look at this episode's main event with Cassius Ohno and Mark Andrews to teach him the ways of British wrestling on this one.
Yes. Episode 52 started off with Sid Scala, who we haven't seen for... do you know what?
Hipster Skid Scala. Going out to the clubs, Sid Scala here. That's weird. Why is he in a suit?
I don't know, but is it me, or is he becoming slightly like smugger every time we see him?
I'm telling you, man, he looks a little strung out on something, too. Johnny Ace. Not Johnny Ace. Johnny Saint's got the goods.
Johnny Saint?
Yeah. Doing blow with Johnny Saint.
Look, where the fuck is Johnny Saint gone? It must be 2 months since we last saw Johnny Saint on television.
If any of the shots I see Johnny Saint missing, it would have been the Download Festival, though. I can't see Johnny Saint being too happy about going to a huge heavy metal festival in the mud.
But he wasn't even in Glasgow either.
Yeah. Who knows, man?
Like,
maybe they're
2 months off that.
maybe they're seeing what we've seen since the very first time Johnny Saint's picked up a mic in this company.
True. But then I just like if it's becoming that much of a problem to have him around, either replace him or just rush the story where Sid Scala turns on him through and get it done with. Because as bad as Johnny Saint is on the mic, it's noticeable now he's gone. If you see what I mean.
Right. Totally. It euthanizes the brand in a way, but at the same time, it strips a little more credibility of a legend being there. But it's not that serious because they're not any focal point of any main angles. They're letting the talent be that, so it's okay. It's no big thing. I mean, honestly, you could just have neither there, and they could just run their normal episodes, and you'd never notice either. I feel like because an authority figure isn't really a big deal in this show.
No, I agree with that. So Sid Scala runs us through what we can expect from the episode. And we open up with tag team action, Travis.
Oof.
Imperium versus Saxon Huxley and Tyson T-Bone. 2 more people we haven't seen for weeks and weeks on end.
I'll tell you this before we get to this match, which isn't a match, it's a slaughter. We've been doing this show for 2 years. I've been doing podcasts for almost 5 years in general. I can never think of another time on any format I've had to write for a show as I look down at my notes where I have the word goddamn written down so many times. Did Saxon Huxley carry himself like an arrogant piece of shit backstage before this? Did he have beef with these 2 guys before this? Because all this was a literal shoot murder on Saxon Huxley from Barthel and Eichner. They destroyed him. Potatoes, receipts. This was New Japan Ishii matches that just in a squash match form. They destroyed him. He got nothing in, and everything looked so visceral, and it was delivered so well. I am blown away, and I know he's a WXW former guy and all that stuff. Every time I see Marcel Barthel, I just see an evil Conan O'Brien, and man, it's clicking for me. I really dig it. Fabian Eichner's kind of the least prominent guy right now, but he's playing his role fine too. Did this just come off to you like, goddamn, Saxon Huxley, who did you piss off?
Yeah. Whose girlfriend did you fuck backstage?
My God.
Don't get me wrong. Huxley's no one in NXT UK. He's another one who could be, cut to save money, as is Tyson T-Bone. I think, I've never been a fan of him. I don't think I've ever said anything positive about Tyson T-Bone.
I mean, what's there to say? What is there to say unless, you watch the movie Snatch with Brad Pitt and all the fucking pikeys? That's all it is.
Yeah. Big pikey fuck. That's all Tyson T-Bone is. But for all the squash here, it made Imperium look absolutely fearsome.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fine with that. No, I don't want to see Saxon, Huxley, and Tyson T-Bone as a tag team anyway. Yeah, they were just thrown together to fill the division and give them both something to do now and then. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. They're not important. They never will be. And, yeah, it just advanced Imperium's image.
There were some double chops here to Huxley's actual throat that were kind of scary, that were so stiff. There was another spot, too. I think he was hung up in the corner like a tree of woe or something. Kicked in the head, but the way he spilled to the outside, he landed right on his head, like when Perry Saturn threw out Mike Bell, the jobber. It was a little worrisome. And Ben, after the match too, after the finish and all that stuff, you could just see the lights were on, but nobody was home in Huxley. He just looked shocked. And T-Bone did nothing in this match. Was this a setup? Like he just stood in the apron and watched the onslaught, man.
I mean, part of me would like to think this is like their send-off from NXT UK and we won't see him again, but I mean, we will. Which is sad when you think, like, there's so many other tag teams on the UK independent circuit they could sign, and yet they're still going with two men who were not very impressive in 2017, and now we're at the arse end of 2019 coming in. You know, and they're still... Who gives a shit about them?
They're just those two guys there that are just the Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews of the brand. They've just always been that way, and not like everybody says, not everybody can be a top guy and blah, blah, blah. They're doing their part, I guess, playing their job, whatever. Doing their job, playing their part. You know what I meant. I can't believe I'm messing up so much. It's a marathon episode. Let's get to something that's just as lackluster, in my opinion. Something they've been building up. You would think they would have given us more here. What did you think of Zaya and Jenny here, Matt?
Before
and I'm missing a Travis Banks skit with Radzi, right?
Yes, I
try to forget it.
I was all over this when it came on. It's like, fine, get Travis Banks back on par after his loss to Walter, which I still think probably should have been saved for TakeOver after they built up the Fatal 4-Way over weeks and weeks. But did he not say here, Travis Banks, that he's a little devastated, but his journey continues, and I'm reading this word for word because I had to transcribe it for the book. But it's kind of just about hitting the reset button.
He did.
And this is just the beginning. How many resets and redos can one man have? He's lost every main feud he's ever had in NXT UK, with the exception of the Cassius Ohno 2-week mini feud he had. He's lost to Walter, so that's him like at the back of the line now. What possibly could you have for him next? And I know what they're going to do with him next because I've read the Plymouth tapings, and I have to tell you, you will not be disappointed in anything in professional wrestling this year until you've seen what they're going to do with Travis Banks next.
Ooh. Well, I mean, all this is to me anymore with Banks is just Ligero vignettes complaining. We're not complaining, just I'm going to start all over from scratch again. And by the way, I can't really be too mad at Banks here, hate this, because he gave my show a cheap-ass plug, so...
Fine.
You know I had that on my format, too. I put, F yeah, thank you, Banks. That's what I have down here when he said that. Yeah, man, I'm totally with you. This is just, how many times are we going to do this? We've been here before. He's such a talented guy, too, and it's just, he's being wasted completely.
What I will say, without giving you any spoilers, though, Travis, is that he cannot possibly lose his next storyline/rivalry.
Jesus Christ! Did he lose to Joseph Connors in the next tapings or something?
No, not quite. But where they look like they're having him going, it's like he cannot possibly lose this. So they actually might to get the other guys over. So.
Ugh. Christ's sakes, I'm dreading it now. So much to look forward to. This was something I was actually looking forward to also. I'm going to try this again in the correct order. Zaya, Brookside, and Jenny, the way they've been building up, I thought they would have given us more here. Zaya looked okay, but Jenny just looked fucking off in this. I don't know what it was. There were some timing issues, sloppy. And to be honest, as good as I've seen Jenny can be in Progress and other matches, more times than not, she is sloppy, on the sloppy side in there.
Yeah, sloppy, and like you said, mistimed. She's been mistimed in a lot of things. Jenny, at the beginning of this, botched a drop kick It's like they both
Yeah.
went for a drop kick. Ginny wasn't meant to do that, and then she just sold Brookside's drop kick.
It was
afterwards.
their tribute to Renegade, man.
She must have watched Bash at the Beach before this and thought, you know what, this guy really needs a tribute. I'm just going to botch this match for him.
That or she watched their
Absolutely.
episode. Cheap plug on Bash at the Beach.
Yeah. I can't describe to people how bad this match was. So it wasn't just boring. For me, it was really, really bad. And I know it was there to tell a story, to carry on Xia Brookside standing up to bullies, etc., send a good message to the kids watching. All very good, but like Ginny won the match with a roll up after Jazzy.
Awful. Fucking awful. One of the worst finishes we've ever seen on this show.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh my god. I mean, you saw what I saw, right?
Yes. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But yeah, Xia Brookside looked quite good, I will say. She looked better but this match did Ginny no favours whatsoever. She looked like the proverbial bag of shit coming out of this.
The finish, for anyone that didn't see it, was what Road Dogg and Jeff Jarrett would do, like, to a T. I can't remember any two manager wrestler guys that did it better than that trip. When Road Dogg would trip them when they hit the rope, and then the guy would fall. That's what they try to do here, but just imagine that, but if Road Dogg and Jeff Jarrett were completely drunk and fucked up and just stumbling around. It just looked sloppy, out of play. Like we said, just, ugh.
I'm sure Jazzy Gabbert missed Xia Brookside's foot.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, I'm absolutely sure she missed time.
She did.
A snap.
She did completely, 100%. She fucking missed a trip. And I know she's not a Dean Malenko or a fucking ace. She's not a worker. She's a big girl, but you missed a trip. Oh, this is so bad. And you know what? The shame of this, the crowd watching this match, they wanted to get into this. There were certain points where they started to, that simmering thing again. And just that finish just killed them. They just, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and what's even sadder is that Xia Brookside has been over with the down low crowd like she's never been over with a crowd so far in NXT UK. So, that just did her no favours either. But as we were saying off air, there's potential in Xia Brookside. The show to tell a story from beginning to end, as long as they don't rush it. Take a year, take 2 years if you have to really build her as something special. Have her have just a massive underdog reign with the title. And, it can work for Xia Brookside. Ginny, I'm just not convinced anymore that she's the woman for the job. And
I don't think I can't see Vince McMahon looking at Jenny on tape and just being captivated in the slightest. I can picture Vince McMahon seeing, and I'm sorry, this is super fit, but I can picture Vince going, "What is that?" Sorry. What other reaction can you picture Vince getting with Jenny? I just, she kind of looks like a bird.
Like a fucking parrot.
Matt, here's something I was really, really confused by actually down here on my notes. How is this the same stable I just saw cut a asshole shit promo the other week and a pretty decent little less is more type backstage promo here? This was decent.
It was decent, and that's exactly what I wrote. So we get Imperium backstage. They're asked what they asked, I don't know anymore. I've got so many notes here, Travis. They basically talk about
algebra questions. Somebody just asked them what the square root of something is.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
They're asked about British strong style, etc. Marcel Barthel begins. I quite like Marcel Barthel as a talker. I think he's better than Eichner, Walter, and Wolf.
Yeah, that's your mouthpiece for sure.
Yeah, but I still think, Travis, like we've been saying for weeks, they need a manager. They need someone. They need a Paul Heyman, or they need a Jim Cornette type manager who can just rattle off what they think, so they can just stand behind him and look fearsome.
You know who would have been fucking great for that? And god damn you, WWE. You know who would have been killed it in that position with these guys, and he fits in? Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick. That serious little 1 month thing he did with the AOP, put him with Imperium, it would fucking work. I guarantee you that would work. But look where we're at with Drake Maverick. Worse than Crash Holly right now. There's no coming back from that. I'm sorry. I'm a huge Drake Maverick fan, but damn.
My God. But I do agree. You know, someone like Drake Maverick, or even Drake Maverick himself, because the 24/7 stuff, I've not seen any of it, but even I know it's trash.
Ooh, another light bulb, Matt. We just talked about it. A great way to make him a new heel authority figure, Sid Scala. Could you imagine that? That would work too, I think.
Can you imagine how good it would be if after all this time, Sid Scala was revealed?
The Eric Bischoff thing with Roddy Piper when he was revealed to be the mastermind of NWO. Do the same thing.
Yeah.
Do it.
Depose Johnny Saint and then reveal Sid Scala as the brains behind Imperium.
Why do we keep finding our way back to
brilliant.
WCW, by the way? We're in some vortex black hole with that company lately.
I know, we can't get away from it.
But yeah, I'd be all about either one of those choices right now. The Scala thing, I think we both would prefer more though, because it would just affect all storylines, and then it's just total dominance for that group. That's the route you go. I'm stamping my approval on that. Our little brainstorm session on what to do with Imperium.
And you know what? If anyone's listening from WWE, Progress, NXT, you can have it free on us.
Well, maybe you. I'll take the fucking check. You better send me a check if you use that idea.
Travis will take the check. I'll just take the credit at the end. Just a little thing on the end credits.
You see how filthy and potty mouth I become when I talk. The topic's money. All of a sudden,
he's ruthless. Fucking hell! Don't ever owe Travis money, anyone. Christ.
Ruthless aggression.
Oh my God. You ready to carry on, Vince, or?
Yeah. As much as I like this promo, man, no, more Kenny Williams.
Yeah, more Kenny Williams. This is basic what we've seen from Kenny Williams over the past few weeks. He basically challenges Noam Dar to a match, says he'll send him to the hospital because he'll snap the wing that Noam Dar wanted to take him under, etc., etc. And the promo Travis has basically built up their match for episode 53. One or the other.
Did he, in fact, say the word skullduggery in this promo?
I believe he did.
When has that ever been done? I mean, if anything, tip of the hat, I guess.
Tip of the hat, but I've never heard a Scotsman use any fancy word from a dictionary, so this must be a first all round.
And I'm totally on the fence on that because I got no beef with Scotland. I'm a US boy, so.
I've got that beef with Scotland. I've just heard a lot of Scottish people known a lot of Scottish people, I should say. Never once heard them use anything eloquent like that.
Here's another waste.
They're a simple people, just carry
Well,
on.
you get more of that, I guess. Another waste of time type thing. This is what it should have been all along. It should have been Dave Mastiff and Joe Coffey. We hear from Joe Coffey, correct, where he accepts the challenge from Mastiff.
It's basically Gallus in the medical room at the Download Festival. Mark Coffey seems to have something wrong with his ribs after last week's main event. Wolfgang's just standing snarling, and Joe Coffey, just challenges Dave Mastiff to a one-on-one match. And that is it. Better than their little promo in the cabin we talked about in episode 51.
And I wasn't on for this episode months ago, but way better. I think the worst one they've ever done where they're like sitting around drinking tea and then bitching like old housewives.
Cafe somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the Gallus promo here. I would just put Joe Coffey as a single star because I think further to what we were saying about Gallus, Travis, I now think Wolfgang and Mark Coffey are bringing Joe Coffey down.
Totally. Let's move it on to something that was completely fucking terrible for me. This promo, an in-ring promo from Tony Storm, was the most trite, scripted, WWE corporate bullshit promo, copy and paste to any, I don't mean to keep saying copy and paste the website, but I did it again. Copy and paste this to any other woman, this is what this was, standard. And I'll tell you what, I get it. She's from Scotland, and I'm a big Kaylee Ray fan, but with the promos, man, less is more, or subtitle that shit like Nakamura for me. Please, could you? This was just to build up the match on the 31st at Cardiff by the end of this, and accepting the challenge, correct?
Yeah, it was. Tony Storm sounded completely fucking robotic. It's like the character she's been building up. And I'm going to say again, the Gollum character with the shiny, and the mad little laugh she's got going. Gone. There was none of that here. We were back to the generic Tony Storm overacting her promo, and it just sounded painful. I don't have a problem with Kaylee Ray's promos. I can understand what she's saying, but I can also see how it will be hard for someone from another country to not fully understand it.
Was it the right call to put Kaylee heel, or would you have kept her babyface? So we can talk about something decent, at least, for Christ's sakes.
No, I'd have put her heel. She's got a face you want to hate.
Do you eventually transition her to a babyface, or you just keep her just a vicious heel?
I would keep her a vicious heel with Piper Niven there, and you've got good foils. You've got Niven, you've got Candy Floss. Not Candy Floss, sorry, Xi Brookside. You know, if you build it right, you might be able to do something with her and Isla Dawn, somewhere down the line.
Obsolete. I hate to say that because I'm a fan of Isla, but right now she's obsolete.
Oh yeah, she's
just like Killer Kelly. God, I love me some Killer Kelly, but it is a crying line shame what they've done to her.
Yep, I agree with that as well. And do you know what? What happened to that fucking tag team with Xi Brookside and Isla Dawn? Just disappeared.
That was like 1 week, right? It was like a ironic, odd couple thing they felt like they were gonna do.
They built it up like they were gonna have a long storyline with Ginny and Jazzy Gabba, and then it was one match done. They had a little team up in the Battle Royal, and then we've not heard anything from them as a pair since.
I'm with you, man. I think what this women's division suffers from is too many baby faces. It was the only call, in my opinion, to do this with Kaylee Ray. She's such a good heel. That takes us to 52's main event. Cassius Ohno and Mark Angle. Were the entrances cut, or were they shown before the break? It was something different that stood out to me. I've written down. It seemed like they were trying to save on time. This was gonna go long, but it didn't really feel like it went long.
It didn't. I believe I saw the entrances. I mean, if they were cut, I would have written it down to note it in the book. I mean, maybe they were shown before the advert. Yeah. I definitely saw the entrances, yeah. I
think that's what it was. It was just they were shown before the break, and that stood out to me. It's a little dumb thing I have written down. Anyway, this match was all right. It was. I
felt it suffered from zero hype. All episode, there was nothing for it. The week before, you had Mark Andrews responding to Cassius Ohno. The week before that, you had Cassius Ohno basically calling Mark Andrews out for being, the useless one of the founding five. There was nothing all episode. This wasn't even advertised as the main event at the beginning of the episode, like they usually do. So it was just like an afterthought.
Can I ask you a question? I've been wondering this forever, and I haven't been on here to ask you.
Yeah.
Does the Stun Dog Millionaire piss you off that it's not the finish like it does me? Because I feel like the Shooting Star Press. How many guys have we seen do that?
It's a good question. It doesn't piss me off it's not his finisher. It pisses me off that it's not his finisher, and yet we see it every match. Literally, I can't remember a Mark Andrews match since 2017, at least on WWE television, where he hasn't done that. And it's not even that. How do I put it? It's not even that we've seen it every match. It's the exact same transition. It's always a suplex into the Stun Dog.
Exactly.
It's never anything different.
Exactly. And I also feel like with signature moves, not finishers, they can also end matches sometimes because that makes the guy's moveset more eclectic.
Yeah, exactly.
Just really wondered that for some reason forever, and I'm glad I finally got it off my chest. And I asked you. We saw some good spots in this, though. I'm not going to like say this was boring and shit, because it wasn't. For what it was, I mean, it did suffer from a burnout crowd and a crowd that could have, like you said, it suffered from lack of hype. But I feel like by the end of this, like most Mark Andrews matches are, it does pick up fans, especially that not usual fans like this, more of a total casual fan.
Yeah, agreed. And go back to the burnt out fan thing. It's like you have to realise that these fans have been sitting there for the best part of maybe 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because before the NXT tapings, NXT UK tapings, there was a couple of NXT matches before that, and that took the time up as well, plus interval. So they've been sitting there for a good amount of time, which is why I think episode 53, when we get onto it, was seemed quite short to keep their attention. But yeah, this match, I enjoyed it. I thought it was technically very good. I'd say one of the better main events we've seen recently. Not, of all time or anything like that, but definitely in the last few weeks. I like that Cassius Ohno, he went old school and focused the attack on Mark Andrews' throat, sort of isolated it with his moveset. I very much enjoyed that.
Nice electric chair spot out of an attempted Joker driver. I have written down. That stood out.
Yes. That was very... Do you know what? I haven't seen him use this since he did it in Coventry, I think. But the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. That was old school.
More. It's like that could be used to finish some, less important matches and build that up as your signature. So it looks fucking good. Yeah, it looks very devastating as well.
Finish kind of came out of nowhere, but it was pulled off pretty well. It was a wheelbarrow out of a tombstone for the win.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Andrews, knowing where they were going to push him and Flash Morgan Webster going into Cardiff, he needed a massive win. And I'm not talking about the fucking win he got over Joseph Connors a few weeks ago. He needed a big win against a notable name, because I don't think Mark Andrews has won a match in NXT UK before this since he beat... you see, I'm struggling.
And before that even, it was what, the fucking tournament? The initial tournament he was winning singles match? Like one match, but still.
Yeah.
Not many. I mean...
Since the tournament in 2017, he didn't win one match in NXT UK until he beat someone. I think it was in November time of last year. So, yeah.
That's one umbrella statement we can make for this episode, Matt, before we talk about it and review it. This was the crowd was burnt out for literally all of the in-ring for this.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Storm got a good reaction. Xia Brookside got a good reaction, but I mean, the overall feeling from the crowd was, we just want this to be over now.
I did not like this episode at all. I'm going to give it a C-. I'm being very generous this week because part of me wants to give it a fail.
I mean, I can see your reasoning. It's like match-wise, in-ring wise, it wasn't really much. It was mostly, a one-match show again. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a B-, just because it brought forward the Tony Storm, Kaylee Ray feud. It gave us our first match for Takeover, which I remember noting for the book for episode 51 is that we're 6 weeks away from Takeover and nothing's been, started to build yet. So at least we got that. We got something in the way of a build for Dave Mastiff versus Joe Coffey. I know there's a lot more of that to come from Plymouth. And the Mark Andrews, Cassius Ohno thing, they got that out of the way, and they pushed Mark Andrews on the way to what I hope isn't a tag team title reign with Flash Morgan Webster.
This may be the most divided we've ever been on a review of any episode in 52 episodes.
Yeah, I'd agree. Don't get me wrong, it's not, a brilliant episode by any means. I wouldn't say go out of your way to watch it, but at least it did some things that 51 didn't do.
With that, thank God we're not ending our episode on a down note like this, because when we come back after one more break, one more timeout, one more refresher for me and Matt on our journey in this omnibus, we're going to come back with episode 53, quite possibly one of the best, if not the best episode of NXT UK they've ever done. Stick around, Matt. Are you ready, my friend, for more?
I am ready. My voice is almost ready. Just have a refresher, and then I'll be on top form.
Before we take a break, I'm going to quote the man himself, Vincent Mann, to you, Matt. Did I get it all, pal?
You did.
Good. Stick around when we come back. Union Smack Podcast. We are back for the final break. It's in the books. Episode 53 of NXT UK. It is time, and man, let's pick up the steam. Let's get excited, because there was a lot to be excited about after watching this episode, Matt.
Yes, there was. And sorry, here we go. Last episode. This is usually where my voice gives up the ghost, and I'm Michael Cole in it all the way through. So yes. Episode 53 opened up with another excellent little promo by Trent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
We see him walking through the parking lot of the Download Festival, and he's cornered by, I would love to know who this fucking reporter is, Travis. It's like, I've heard his voice for nearly a year, and I still don't know who he is.
Media Glenn.
But Media Glenn, yeah. Whoever that might be. He's asked what's going through his mind, and he basically just says he's going to take Walter's head off. He's going to knock his head off his shoulders. And it's the intent in his eyes and his face. It's just, yes.
Yep.
You know, it's like, I believe him and I want him to do it.
And it was a great way to kick off this episode. It was building up the main event in tremendous fashion.
It was. And this made you look forward to the main event. But even more so than after last week's promo, it was just the perfect way to open.
It's kind of in a way I want to talk about the main event now, but I won't yet, because it was so good and all this has been so well done so far. But I feel like the fact that this didn't have a title and this tired crowd were so invested and it still was so good without a title being online, I feel like it was going to speak volumes by the end of this review here.
Yeah, I agree. And Trent Seven is a very, very good actor. I know he's been in Transformers, but I would seriously urge him to take up more acting after.
He's very smart. He's one of those workers that take the time to pay for himself to go to an acting lesson or an acting school, and he's one of those guys that did that. And I feel like all wrestlers should do that if you want to make it in mainstream wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. Agree totally.
Here's something I didn't see coming, especially as little as the build has done for me, was how good Kenny Williams versus Noam Dar was to kick off this episode, Matt. I mean, this may be, and I know that he's done a lot of great stuff over there, overseas and stuff, but on WWE television, this may have been his best match besides the one against Pete.
Yeah, agreed. I was slightly disappointed that this was now. I was convinced that they'd, keep them both to take over because of how long they sort of spent building this up and, the effort that went into it by everyone, but this was, I felt like this, as good as this was, it was another case of just jumping the gun with it. I
feel like somebody backstage is kind of like me with Dar, and they don't see what the big deal is about how big he is over there. But when I see matches like this, I got to see it through their eyes too, because I know if I'm feeling it, they probably got to feel it somewhat. I came around a little bit by the end of this with Dar. Big time came around with it. I mean, I was just... From some of the spots we've seen, some of the heel psychology work by Dar, he's so unlikable. He is such a you just want to punch that face, and he knows it and he executes it well when needed. And When Noam Dar shows up, and we talked about this last episode with Ric Flair 95 and Dean Ambrose, when he gives a shit, you get some really good stuff.
Yeah, and this is the product of him giving a shit and caring. So it was very well put together, this match, and I hope this isn't the last we see, because I sort of feel like after everything they did to build it up, this should have been one of many, or one of at least a few matches between the two, and it should have started off with more, what's the right word, more impetus by Kenny Williams.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, it sort of started off normal and back and forth.
You wouldn't think there was a grudge behind this, the way it started, like technical and...
thought this was a normal match, and it was just...
Right.
Yeah, there was nothing behind it. It should have started off with a massive brawl. You know, they should have brawled into the crowd, sort of like Jordan Devlin and Travis Banks did in Blackpool in their match there. It's like, I would have preferred that here, and then the match just ended like a no contest, and then maybe them have another match in Plymouth that ended the same way, and then have it blow off at TakeOver, because this, given 10 more minutes on a TakeOver stage, could have been NXT UK Match of the Year.
We could very well get that. You know, we talked about a Piper, Niven, Rhea Ripley no holds barred match. Maybe this is the no holds barred match we get at TakeOver. This could work. From what I've seen here, by all means, do it. Two springboard maneuvers actually in this match. One was a back elbow, I think, to the outside. The other was a springboard into a fisherman buster, which was sick. It was beautiful. A twisting fisherman buster. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I like all that. I like what Kenny Williams did. I just felt like it wasn't very, like the springboard stuff and the aerial offense didn't play into the story again. You know, it's like, this shouldn't be all pretty moves and counters, etc. This should be, you know, he's rubbed the guy's face in the mud. He's embarrassed him. This should just be an all-out brawl.
Yeah, I can see that. But hopefully, if what I said is true and they're building to that, then I guess this could get a pass then, right?
I mean, I know what's coming, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, God.
So...
Please don't.
Yeah. All I'll say is don't get your hopes up for this happening at TakeOver.
The finish to this was total Eddie Guerrero worship. Let's say it is what it is. It was an 04 Eddie Guerrero finish, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It was all right. It's exactly what someone's character like Dari, you feel like, would do to cheat and win like this.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing the Eddie Guerrero thing for a few weeks now. And, I mean, it sort of works for him, but I feel like they're trying to turn him into the Eddie Guerrero of the modern day, because there's not much else to Noam Dar. But yeah, ending was good, where Kenny Williams' shoe came off. He threw it to distract the referee, kicked him between the legs, and then hit him with the Nova Roller for the win. And like I say, it's like, I would have preferred Kenny Williams not to take the loss here, and for it to be, you know, transferred into something bigger. But I mean, you know, I suppose the saving grace is we got a payoff to 3 or 4 weeks worth of story.
It is what it is. Totally a dark horse surprise match of the week for me out of all the shows I've seen this week. So go your way, check this out. You might be surprised. Something I'm not surprised about, again, are two things. One, that we see Radzy's punchable face, speaking of those, and another goddamn Zach Gibson promo that sounds exactly like every other one we've heard, except this time they're just chilling in the back. That's it. And James Drake nodding.
That's it. I mean, I don't know why they don't give James Drake a microphone. It's like he's maybe spoken 10 words since January, since they formed properly and won the tag team titles. But I don't mind the Zach Gibson promos if I wasn't writing a book and didn't have to write it word for word and keep stopping the fucking thing, because they're usually so long.
But you're right too, man. He's good promo. They're just all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And this didn't actually do or say anything.
No. Nothing.
This was literally just Radzy interrupting them doing a workout and him telling Radzy to go and find them new challengers. That was it.
For the casual fan who'd never seen this guy before, if they just glanced at this, all they would take away from this is, hey, it's Edward Norton from American History X and Seth Green, and they're hey, happy to be there. That's it.
Yep, that's it. And that's the promo. We didn't miss anything. We didn't need to see it. And I don't know. I think Zach Gibson's starting to suffer from the same old, too much talking. But he needs to be the character that just speaks with actions.
Yeah. He also looks sick. I don't know if it was the lighting in this. He looked more pale than he usually does in this, the way it was shot.
I mean, he looked pale since the tournament last year, but maybe he had a bug. Who knows?
Maybe he gave it to Balor. Get well soon, Finn Balor. Serious. I know you got like the stomach flu, and that can be serious. We get a little recap of the Kaylee Ray winning the Battle Royal a couple episodes back when Xia Brookside thought she won. That transitions to another match that blew me away when I first saw Sid Scala, announce this. I always mess his name up. You ever notice that? Every time. Fuck.
Yes.
I was like, oh God, this will just be a 4-minute blah blah blah. But no, everybody looked great in this. I feel like.
Yeah, I'm going to say everyone other than Ginny because I apart from the apart from the few minutes at the end, I think like she mistimed some stuff again. But there was a lot of mistime from mostly everybody here. I mean, I like the way it was built around Kaylee Ray, avoiding Toni Storm at every possible juncture. That was very well done. I mean, I feel like even though this was meant to be, to build the story between Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray, I feel like this was more to highlight Xia Brookside again.
Didn't it? It did. Because the finish, and it was just like, you wouldn't know that Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray were in the title picture. You would think, the past couple episodes, besides that one promo from Toni Storm in ring, that Xia Brookside is chasing the title. Jenny has it.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Xia Brookside 4 out of 5 episodes, so there's something going on with her now, I think. I think she's sparked somebody backstage. And
woof.
Yeah, I think.
Wording.
Woof. Fingers crossed they don't... Fingers crossed they don't ruin her, but we can only hope.
Yep, this would win. This would end with Jenny getting the pin over Xia, continuing their program together. In a way, I guess it was smart because neither Kaylee nor Toni Storm had to look weak. You didn't have to have Kaylee Ray pinning Xia, so that it's kind of. Did it make sense? The most out of any finish could have come up with? Yes, just a little more sizzle on the finish, maybe next time.
Yeah, and I think now Ginny's pinned Xia Brookside twice in a row. You have to give Xia Brookside the redemption. It's
got to be next time they do it. Yep.
And hopefully it's not fucking television again.
Did this hype? We feel like Xia was the focal point in this. We both agree on that. But has any of this hyped you for the Kaylee and Toni match? Are you hyped for that at all at Cardiff?
Not really. I just want the reign to be over. That's the main point of the match for me. It's not to go out there and give us a great match, which I'd say I'm sure it will be, but then I don't think Toni Storm has had that defining match in NXT UK yet.
Yeah.
I mean, people, Toni Storm stands or can say what they like, but I feel like Toni Storm's matches have fell all below par.
The one that disappointed me the most was the one you were at, Blackpool. I thought that would be a banger, and it wasn't.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think her and Rhea Ripley just don't have that as much chemistry as people think.
They don't at all. And they're both from Australia, correct? They came up together in a way, right? Or they did?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
And they just don't have any. They just if all 3 of their matches were just, what else is on?
Well, obviously, when they got signed to their developmental deals in the first place, it wasn't from WWE agents watching their matches with each other in Australia. It was other people.
And I mean, Toni Storm as well was like, out of the two of them, she was the more experienced. But I think even she, not only with Rhea Ripley, but I feel like she struggled to carry women like Ginny and Nina Samuels to like decent matches, which is a shame because her and Ginny have had some great matches in progress, over the women's title there. Yeah, they just
maybe it's nerves,
Mate, it's something. It's not translating to NXT UK.
We underestimate a lot of times just being in that environment. WWE, a lot of guys, they've come out and said in interviews when their time there that they always had anxiety. We've seen Moxley come out and say it in the Jericho interview, like he was just felt trapped there. And maybe that's the case of it. There's certain people will give you shit if you do a high spot in a match. That's going to be somebody's high spot later. You can get heat for that. There's just so many things you're just weary of doing. And I think that gets to a lot of these people and makes them just kind of zonk or zone out in their fucking match when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that if Tony Storm hadn't already had like great matches in the Mayhem Classic.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was a bigger stage than NXT UK, so
that's true.
Yeah, I don't know whether she's being held back creatively or can't express herself in the ring as much as she wants to, but to go to Japan and have like great matches there, and then come to NXT and have mediocre matches, something's not right.
Yeah. Totally agree. We'll see the doldrums of this title reign in the coming episodes in the future Union Smack shows. Let's get to, before we gloss over again, a Dave Mastiff graphic. I cannot wait when he addresses Joe Coffey next week. God, batten down the hatches. The main event, the reason we're all here, the best part of any of these for me, all 4 of these episodes this week, Matt, was this. Trent Seven versus Walter. No title on the line. Didn't need it. Like we said earlier.
Yep.
You start, but I will say that this match, again, had everything. It was just, it had atmosphere. The fans were into it totally behind Trent. It just hard-hitting. The way this closed to end the episode after the match, before we get there in a second, is just we haven't seen that kind of finish in a while, and it came off very gruesome and very visceral and very, very well done. What are your 2 cents on this, man?
Yeah, loved it. I thought it was an excellent match. I thought it was Walter's second best match in NXT UK so far. No one has to ask what number 1 is. I think it's clearly obvious to everyone. I loved the way
Jack Stars.
Trent Seven began. I knew you'd crack it.
Yep.
I loved the way Trent Seven began. It was just like, this was how Kenny Williams and Noam Dar should have began. Just like suicide dive straight onto Walter as he's coming down the aisle. Big brawl outside, and then from there on, Trent Seven, he just wouldn't go down until the end. He was so determined, and I actually felt sorry for Walter taking them chops, because you heard and felt every one of them.
I mean, as you do, but to credit to Trent Seven, he was right in there with the chops himself.
Oh, that's what I mean. The chops on Walter.
Oh yeah. Like, totally.
You felt and heard every one of them, and I think it wasn't 2-3 minutes into the match before Walter's chest was just absolutely red.
He was worse for wear coming out of this with the chest and the chops than Trent Seven was.
Yeah, he was. And I think that added like to Trent Seven's grit and determination. It's like, you're going to beat me down, you're going to hurt me, but I'm going to give as good as I get.
There were some cross-face forearm blows here from Walter to Trent Seven that would transition to an STF that stood out to me, because those cross-body forearm shots like just were nasty. Just, good God, how is your nose not broken, Trent Seven? Just these big goddamn Austrian meat hooks just turning your face into mashed potatoes. Like, God.
But again, it's like this. It looked. What's the best way to put it? It didn't look pretty, but it was. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
It looked like a real fight, but it looked really good.
The complete opposite of what your problem was with Kenny Williams and Noam Dar. It didn't look like a choreographed ballet. It looked like a struggle, and that's the best kind of pro wrestling.
Exactly, and I liked like through the duration of the match how Trent Seven just sort of lost a bit every time, and like by the end he was just done. It's like he'd put up the best fight he possibly could. He'd done basically what he said he was going to do, but then he just couldn't beat which made Walter look like a fucking monster. And whoever is going to beat him for the title is going to be taking up a few notches. But the end of this match, it was possibly the best ending I've seen to any episode of NXT UK thus far.
Well, after Walter gets the win, after like you said, Trent did everything. There was a nasty powerbomb onto the apron, a la Kevin Owens or something. After that, it was pretty much ball game. Walter, he would beat with powerbomb, right? Would get the win.
Yeah, 5 powerbombs. Referee stops the match, but before that, it's like Imperium come down to the ring and stand guard at the aisle. And then I loved the bit where I think it might have been after his third powerbomb, the camera just panned to the stage like someone was about to come out, but then there was no one that came to his rescue.
And then, like you said, the way they stood facing the ramp, facing the end, was just kind of like, we dare you kind of thing, and it was awesome.
It looked phenomenally good.
And with them there, Walter just kept powerbombing him after the match, just laying him out. And I feel like it would have been even better if they just faded the black while he was still powerbombing him. Like, he just never stopped.
That would have been the better ending. And you know what? If you don't watch NXT UK, that's fair enough. But, you know, and if you don't want to watch the match itself, that's fair enough. But I do ask that you just go back and watch the last 5 minutes of the episode, because I don't think I've seen a better ending to a match, or a more dramatic ending to a match, for months and months.
It's reminded me of how they would book Daniel Bryan in 2014, getting that ultra sympathetic babyface heat on. There was no one to help him. The Authority would guard the ring, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I went out of my way not to reference WCW again because I wanted to say NWO something so bad there, but I didn't. Even though I kind of just did.
You spoiled it now. My God.
No. What did you think of episode 53 as we take it home this week, Matt?
I thought it was the best episode in a long while. And just as a little note afterwards, we didn't see it, but after the cameras shut off, Pete Dunne did make an appearance with a steel chair and chase off Imperium.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes. He flew back, especially from the NXT tapings the night before, to put in an appearance at the Download Festival.
Well, at least that crowd got sent home happy. That would have been a depressing way for them to go back to watching heavy metal.
Can you imagine just the sight of this nearly 40-year-old man just powerbombed the shit out of it?
And like that crowd goes out, and it's a festival, so there's like 12 bands playing. They watch the rest, like 8 bands, and by the time they're done, they come back, he's still powerbombing Trent Seven.
4 hours later, it's just like, yep, I'm not tired yet.
You remember in WrestleMania, the arcade game, way back in the day for like Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo? Do you remember when Razor Ramon, one of his moves, he would grab you by the legs and go, nobody messes with the back, and beat you out like a dusty rug? That's what it, that's what it reminds me of. I'm with you, man. Best episode in months, long time, at least. I would give this one a solid, I'm going to give it an A-.
Yeah, I'd be right there with you. A-.
Know what else I'm going to give?
Do you know what?
Good.
This was got an A+ if Kenny Williams and Noam Dar hadn't have looked so choreographed and been just a bit grittier.
Still blown away, man, and I think we've gone 2 hours this week. In 2 hours, it's only like literally 2 things we've really disagreed on. Blows my mind every week.
Well, great minds think alike.
And I'm going to give us an A+ because, my God, it's over, man. We did it Iron Man style. The Omnibus is in the books. I'm glad I finally joined you, and I now know your pain. I am spent. I am tapping out. But before I completely throw in the towel like Helen Hart at Survivor 94, one more time, Matt, where can everyone catch you and all that you do?
You can find me on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant. You can buy our official merchandise, the official Union Smack shirt, the official Hibiki TMD shirt, the official Reset Button shirt, and a summer shirt coming in the works in August from our online shop, unionsmack.bigcartel.com.
Fingers crossed it's a smacked off his tits shirt. And I got to tell you, man, over the last almost 5 years, out of all the co-hosts I've had up and down, nobody plugs my shit better than you. You're still the best at it, best in the business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend, for staying up late, knocking this out of the park with me. One more time on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD. Hit that little red button right down below for all the best retro gaming and pro wrestling right here on the channel. Million shows, too many to name. Until next time, the Union Smack Podcast, my friends, in the books. Cheerio, kids.